Hello and welcome to the Andover Political Review segment on the corporatization of education. I'm here with social studies teacher Mr. Hopkins to talk about the increasing role of technology and corporations in education both locally and nationally. So let's get started with some questions. In your opinion, how has Andover High School been affected by the increasing role of technology, computers and other kinds of electronics? Do you think more technology benefits student learning?
The school's obviously been affected because of the one-to-one program, teachers being given laptops, projectors in every room. And with the technology and with the expansion of Wi-Fi in the building comes kind of an expectation that it'll be used more often by students and teachers. So the effects are probably not even quite understood all yet, but we've got research at the tip of our fingers now, which is fantastic. As a social studies teacher, I like that. I like kids to be able to tap into the internet. And the downside is, the one-to-one program is pretty controversial. I don't know what happened to the social contract. I'm kind of concerned that a public school would shift costs onto families and students.
Can you just explain for a second, for the people watching, what the one-to-one program is?
One-to-one started this year with incoming ninth graders having to have their own laptop. And the school takes it and connects it to the school's Wi-Fi. And this means the school is no longer going to provide computer labs and computers to students. I guess the community has decided at some level that that is not a public resource, a computer. I know that there are obvious plans in place to help people who cannot afford one, but I still sort of, I'm a little maybe old school in this thinking. I think public schools should be publicly funded. And if this is a new expectation of schools to be connected and to be computing, then why aren't schools fully funding that? It seems like this is the corporate model of education to shift costs. I mean, we've seen the idea of business being efficient working its way into public schools and other public institutions for a long time. This is an encroachment that needs to be watched, I would say.
Do you think there's a correlation between the increase in technology and the increase in corporations inside of education, and like both in Andover High and across the country?
Yeah, it's a direct correlation. Education dollars are enormous. And corporations seem very eager to get in on that. And what happens at the procurement level, I don't even know. I don't know how many people are aware of how we choose which hardware and software we're gonna use. Often in public budgets, the lowest bidder seems to win. And that can be kind of a shame with functionality, and I don't know that we're experiencing that. Once you buy into a certain gadget, then you need the upgrades, and then you need the accessories that come with it. And then when you replace the broken gadget or the outdated gadget, you're going to go to that same company. And so the corporations are in. And with a computer, there's a tendency to want to incorporate pre-made, I think, lessons and teaching materials, and that it sort of pulls the teaching away from teachers, and they can become more reliant on existing software, programs, websites, things like that. And that might be something that doesn't really benefit teaching or learning. It might be something that just benefits the corporate bottom line in the end, because if anybody can plug in the computer and run the lesson, then you don't really need a teacher. You don't need an experienced, trained educator. You could have somebody at a fraction of the price pushing the button. And we know that there are people out there who want to move in this direction because they want schools and public schools to be for-profit businesses. And I don't see how that's ever going to be beneficial to students, because students are not a product. And I can't see how you could dare to try to profit off people's children and the essentials that we are trying to teach them.
In your experience as a teacher, has the one-to-one plan affected kind of the teacher-student relationship inside the classroom?
I don't notice a change. The program is only a couple months old. I think there is a possibility for students who opt out of the program, or because for whatever reason, might be stigmatized with in a town like Andover. These are maybe thought to be children whose families cannot afford an expensive laptop, and I think that that could be uncomfortable for some people. We try not to do that in public education. We try to leave those socioeconomic differences outside of the classroom. And so the one-to-one may exacerbate that. I know that people who've put that in place have probably thought about that, and so mitigation might be in place. But it hasn't changed my relationship with the students. I'm not feeling compelled to have them staring at computers every day. I think we use it the way we would use just about any other tool in the classroom.
New education initiatives introduced by recent presidents, such as the Improving America's Schools Act, signed by President Clinton, the No Child Left Behind Act, signed by President Bush, and Common Core, pushed by President Obama, have increased the role of standardized testing in public schools. What are your thoughts on the increased focus on standardized tests?
I think standardized testing comes from politicians who know that the general populace is not going to really pay attention to ed research, because I don't know of any education research from Clinton on that suggests standardized testing is a particularly valid way of measuring education. And I think the idea that how can you measure something if you don't have a test is one of those obvious distraction questions that politicians like to throw out there. Local autonomy of public schools means something politically, but also means something to me as an educator. I think in the classroom, as someone that the district hired, I'm considered to be an expert at some things, and I know how to teach. I know how to plan lessons in units and entire courses. I know how to manage a classroom of different students. And to say that you or anyone else could create a test that measures student achievement is going to be pretty limited, because what we teach is not so much capturable on a test. You teach a lot of content, but you use the content to teach skills. And one of the things we also are sort of tasked with is helping kids develop an attitude of appreciation for learning. And I'm not sure how many of these things can be tested accurately. And I'm not sure why you would waste money, time, and human resources on this endeavor. Obviously, corporations that produce tests and get paid to distribute them want this to happen. And they have an undue influence on politics. That's undeniable. So when you have corporate presidents like Clinton and Bush and Obama, you're going to get education policies that tend towards corporate benefits, I think. It's reason enough to be suspicious of them. Every education study says that high-stakes testing proves nothing except the affluence of the community. And we don't need to test that. We have other measures of that.
So the initiatives passed by these presidents also centralized control of public education to an unprecedented degree. What are your thoughts on Washington's control of education?
Well, part of me thinks we should have just listened to Reagan and gotten rid of the Department of Education. I think that I'm not quite sure which is the chicken or the egg on this, but it does seem that there's a culture in this country of doubting the effectiveness of public schools. And most people who don't participate in a public school on its daily operation might just only look at a test score as an indicator of success or not. And as long as uninformed people are going to rely simply on one number, then we're in danger. If those people then are telling policymakers that this has to change. Very few members of Congress, or here or in the State House, in D.C. or in the State House, have any experience as educators, I imagine. I can't think of any in Congress, in D.C., who are former teachers or educators. For them to not defer to educators on matters like this is striking and shocking in some ways. I would think it's time to resist the centralization of these decisions.
How would you feel about a charter school opening in Andover that would use tax money that would otherwise go to Andover High School?
Great idea. The more the better. I don't feel that way at all. Charter schools are just another attempt by corporations to get into education dollars. I don't know how much of a profit is enough for American corporations. I'm really stunned by their general behavior. It's unethical to back charter initiatives and with billionaire dollars, and the billionaires behind it are pretending that they're interested in the welfare of children and the education of our youth. That's not what charters are about. Charters sap money from public schools, and it's lost forever, and we know that, and we have to resist that because there's nothing that charters offer that we don't. And if we're in any way lacking, it needs to be met because we have a social contract in this country. And if schools need more money, then people need to pony up. It's as simple as that. Charters is exacerbating the problem. You get nothing for your investment. And what you get in a charter school is more than sort of matched by the losses that are concurrent in the public schools from which the charters are stealing, I think. I see this as a corporate attack on unions. We are the largest workforce in the country now, I believe, public teachers, public educators. We are a strong workers' union, and that gets in the way of profits because profits have no respect at some level for workers and their conditions. And it also seems to be sort of a misogynist maneuver because teachers in this country are primarily, or I think a majority of them are female. So it's an attack on unions, it's an attack on women in the workplace. And I'm against that stuff. I don't think we need to just bow down to corporations. In this case, they're not offering anything better.